Some scars in One Piece don't come from battles, they come from the past. The kind of stories that make even the strongest characters feel human. Let's talk about the backstories that hit the hardest. And if there's one story that sets the tone for how heavy Oda can make this world, it's the story of Bartholomew Kuma. Once hailed as a king beloved by his people, Kuma was not a tyrant or a monster, but a gentle man who only wanted peace. Yet, to protect those he loved, his daughter Bonnie, his kingdom, and even the revolutionaries, he made a choice no one should ever have to make. Bit by bit, his body was stripped away, his will erased, until he was nothing more than a machine of the world government. What's chilling isn't just the transformation, but the fact that Kuma accepted it willingly, sacrificing his very humanity so his daughter could live free. Every step he takes now as a hollow shell is a haunting reminder of what love can cost. And Kuma's story flows into another tale of a child crushed by the weight of forces far beyond her control. Nico Robin. If Kuma's tragedy was about losing himself, Robin's was about never being allowed to have a self at all. From the moment she could read the poneglyphs, the world branded her dangerous. The one place she thought she belonged, Ohara, was annihilated in fire by the Buster Call. At 8 years old, she watched her mother, her teachers, her entire island disappear before her eyes. For 2 decades she wandered, used, betrayed, and discarded. So when she finally whispered, "I want to live," at Eni's lobby, it wasn't just a line of dialogue. It was the first time Robin gave herself permission to exist. But Robin's story of survival under a burning sky naturally leads us to another child who grew up watching everything burn, Trafalgar Law. In Flevence, the White City, beauty was poisoned from the inside out by amber lead. The nobles denied it until it was too late, and the disease consumed everything. Law didn't just lose his parents. He lost his friends, his neighbors, every face he had ever known. A child hiding under corpses, waiting for his own time to come. That image burns into your mind. Corazone's sacrifice saved him, yes, but the scars of watching his world vanish never left. Just like Robin, Law's life is a testament to how survival itself can sometimes feel like a curse. And survival, when twisted, can turn into something darker. No one embodies this better than Don Quixote Doflamingo. Unlike Robin and Law, Doflamingo was born with everything, a celestial dragon, untouchable, above the law. But when his father abandoned that privilege, the world turned on him. The family was hunted, tortured, and starved. His mother died, his pride shattered. And what grew inside him wasn't resilience or kindness, it was hatred. Hatred so deep that it shaped him into the ruthless, heavenly demon. His cruelty doesn't excuse his crimes, but it does explain them. In Doflamingo, we see what happens when pain doesn't heal, but festers. Yet, not all stories of pain turn into villainy. Some forge the purest hearts. Take Tony Chopper. Born different, rejected by both reindeer and humans, he was a child with no home, no place in the world. Then came Dr. Hirlik, a fool in many eyes, but to Chopper, the first person to see him as family. And yet, fate was cruel again. When Chopper tried to save him with what he thought was a miracle mushroom, he unknowingly poisoned the only man who loved him. Hirlik drank it anyway, smiling, and told Chopper not to cry, because a doctor's job is to give hope. Chopper's dream of curing all disease comes from that moment of unbearable loss, turning tragedy into purpose. And then there's Brook, whose suffering takes loneliness to an unimaginable extreme. Imagine sailing with a crew that feels like family, only for poison to wipe them out one by one. Brook's devil fruit brought him back, but far too late. His body decayed to bones, his friends gone forever. For 50 years, he drifted alone, clinging only to his violin and the memory of a whale waiting for him across the sea. His songs may sound cheerful now, but every note carries the weight of half a century spent in silence. But loneliness isn't reserved for the undead. Boa Hancock, feared as the pirate empress, hides a childhood scarred by the chains of the celestial dragons. Sold as a child slave, branded and dehumanized, she endured horrors she never speaks of. Her arrogance, her vanity, those are masks. Behind them lies a woman who still trembles at the mark on her back, a wound that no amount of power or beauty can erase. And when we think of chains, we think of Fisher Tiger, the revolutionary fishman who climbed the Red Line to free slaves. He fought for freedom, but even he could not escape tragedy. Wounded and bleeding, he refused a blood transfusion from a human, not because he didn't want to live, but because the hatred he carried was too heavy. Fisher Tiger's death wasn't just his own. It symbolized the cycle of bitterness that consumes entire generations. That cycle of love and loss takes a quieter, almost absurd form in Senor Pink. At first glance, he's comic relief, a man crawling around in diapers, sucking on pacifiers. But when you learn the truth, laughter fades. Once, Pink had a wife, Russian, who fell into a coma after learning he was a pirate. When she awoke, she rejected him completely. Then their only child died, leaving him with nothing. To ease her pain, even as she lay unresponsive, Pink dressed as their baby, hoping to make her smile again. Behind every silly gesture was the weight of grief no parent should endure. In the end, the man the world mocked was simply a father mourning the family he could never get back. And then, of course, there are the smaller stories that cut just as deep. Nami's adoptive mother, Belmere, choosing death rather than deny her daughters. Koala, a child slave who bowed and apologized so often it became second nature. These moments may not dominate arcs, but they remind us that tragedy is woven into every corner of Oda's world. But even the ones who laugh the loudest aren't immune. Monkey D. Luffy always seemed untouchable, always smiling through the worst storms. But Marineford stripped that away. Watching Ace die in his arms, hearing his brother's last words, and realizing he couldn't protect the person he loved most, for the first time, Luffy's will broke. For the first time, he felt what so many before him had felt, the unbearable weight of loss. And maybe that's what ties all of these stories together. They all carry scars carved deep by tragedy. But Oda doesn't leave them there. He shows us that pain doesn't erase dreams, it sharpens them. That scars don't kill hope, they give it meaning. Every one of these characters carries a wound that shaped who they are today. And maybe that's why their journeys feel so unforgettable. Tell me, whose story stayed with you the longest?